So 561 Music now has a hotline. You can call us anytime at 561-203-9122 and ask us any questions you like. Some humorous ones or something about the guests we've had on the show, or questions about gear, or questions about the festival, or anything you like. It's, of course, 561-203-9122. We would love to hear from you. We did a pretty fun little message, so you get to hear that too. Even if you just call up to listen to me and Hector trying to do a good phone message, that's a good enough reason. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch. Hi guys, I know everyone says this on every YouTube channel, but please, could you like and subscribe to 561 Music Podcast? It's a local music podcast, and all we're trying to do is help local musicians get some exposure. So if you could like it, subscribe it, and also hit the notifications button on the episode, we would really, really appreciate it. And if you're feeling generous, you could subscribe to the Spotify as well. Thank you.
It's what we're doing. Come and check it out. It's what we're all about. 561 Music.
Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben. Hector is not here today because he is in Colombia, which is very exciting. I thought I'd say it like with an emphasis on the O. I don't know why, but yeah, he is over there in Colombia, and he won a street painting competition, so he's gone there as like a guest of honor to do some street painting, which is very exciting. So everyone send love and good luck to Hector and his journey off to South America. I'm super jealous. I always wanted to go to Colombia. So Killbilly's had a pretty fun weekend. We played over at Maxie's Lineup. If you know that place, then you'll know it's a smaller venue, but it's always a good vibe in there, and we really like playing there. The food is amazing. So it's a bit confusing because it's actually Food Shack, but for some reason when they play the music they call it Maxie's Lineup. But it's a cool little spot in Jupiter, and if you're looking for really, really good like Florida / like Bahamian cuisine, you should go and eat there. It's delicious. And then on Saturday, we didn't have a gig. I went to Monster Jam with my brother-in-law, and I grew my mustache out especially for it. I've shaved it off since. I just felt like I had to get as America as possible. Had a really good time. I would say about watching trucks drive around in like a stadium for 3 hours. Not going to lie, it is a little bit boring. But it was cool though, I saw one of them do a backflip and stuff. I think I would go again. It's more of just kind of hanging out in the stadium. That's the fun part of it. But yeah, that was with Sea Turtle Adventures, which is a group that my brother-in-law is a part of. It takes out autistic kids, and we go to like different events. I go with Michael quite a lot with him to these different things, and we've been to loads of cool stuff. So if you've got a relative or someone in your family who's autistic, should have them come hang out with us at Sea Turtle Adventures. It's really, really awesome. But we have Mount Sinai with us today. How's it going, guys? We got Nico on guitar there next to me, and we got Alex, and we got Lewis and Matthew. How's it going?
Oh, good.
Vibing out, my man.
Very, very well.
Excellent.
Good day so far.
Yeah, good stuff. I think a fun thing to start with, because I was curious when it's a pretty obvious question, but I was just curious, how come Mount Sinai? Do you think just thought it sounded cool, or is there a reason why you chose the name?
Well, we were kind of trying to figure out a name, and we had put it off for like a while, and we were bouncing ideas off of each other to kind of go with some themes we were going with, and the music itself, and it was really tough because a lot of band names are taken already.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like, so the good riffs, the good names.
Yeah, we had like 50 names. We had a whole list, and we're like, oh, that would be awesome, and then nothing. It was already a band or something, and
well, let's say, biblical names, pretty strong,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I just named a song Moses. You can't go wrong. It has the weight of history behind it.
Right.
Right.
And we're playing, a certain style of music, and we want to explore that territory also. So it feels like we have like the inertia of everyone that came before us and like that style of music. So to have a biblical name on top of the religious connotation and that inertia to push it. And we wanted a name that sounded big, like our sound, like a big sound, something sort of memorable and powerful. And that's where Moses communed with God and got the 10 Commandments. And a lot of time when we play, it's like something divine, really. And we don't know where those ideas like come from. So
I feel like with a jammy kind of a band, you do every now and again lock into this sort of inexplicable sort of synergy, you know? That
It's
you
nearly
just feel-
supernatural.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta surrender to it almost, you
Yeah,
know, and
for
just
sure.
like explore a bit.
Yeah, I remember one jam. Sorry to interrupt you, but I remember one jam I had one time, and I don't know if it was because I was tired or what, but I just started seeing like how connected we were. I got that like, what's that thing called where you like see sound?
synesthesia.
Yeah, I feel like every now and again I get that with taste, but this time I got it with like with sight, and I could see how we were all connected with these weird like red lines. It was super trippy, man.
That's cool. That's sick.
So yeah, I'm all about those spiritual jam experiences for sure. It's definitely
right. You're so vulnerable in those moments. It's just like when you get together and you're playing your instrument, like whether it's wrong or right, whatever you're doing, it's just you're vulnerable. You're exposing yourself to your bandmates, and it's just this spiritual experience.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Vulnerable, and you're right. Yeah, it's kind of like, all right, well, this is what I got to offer, you know, and you're also simultaneously like listening a lot more than you would necessarily in daily life to the way that what other people are doing, and really trying to fit in with what everyone's doing in this kind of like in real time, you know. So it's almost like you become this singular thing.
Yeah, it makes you like it makes you be present, because like a lot of times we're thinking about like stuff that's coming up, we're thinking about things that have already happened, analyzing, you know, whatever. But like when you're jamming like live, kind of just exploring with your bandmates and stuff, like you have to be like in the moment, like literally.
Yeah,
it's like it brings you so present. It's a unique experience. You know, there are other things that can do that, but music is like a really cool way to achieve that, I would say.
Yeah,
special.
I 100% agree with that. I struggle with being in the moment, and I think that's why I like playing music so much, because it does force you to, you know, you're just right there and then doing it, and it's one of the very few things where I really do feel like that. Every now and again I can get in that state when I'm practicing, but it's quite difficult to stop your mind from drifting, you know. So but then when you're on stage and you got to do it, you know, it's that extra added pressure, you know, to
exactly
snap into it.
And in those times, you like if a song's like 6 minutes, it's 6 minutes you're never gonna get back, you know. And so when you're pouring your entire heart and soul into it, and you're playing with maybe your buddies or something, it's really something special. And to just be in that moment and let whatever happens, you know, and just jam and play. It's a transcendent feeling. It's really
Absolutely. So how long have you been a band? It's like just like a year or so, right?
Yeah. It's been over a year, actually.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit over. We formed on January 1st of 2022. New Year's Day was our first jam.
Nice.
So yeah, it's
Matt
getting
came
there.
a little bit later, but I'd known him for a long time, so he just naturally fit in like not far longer.
And how did you guys meet?
Okay.
Oh, so yeah, I'd mentioned to you before we started this Kava bar, and we had been me and him hang out there a lot, and we'd always like cross paths, and I do a lot of strange like open tunings, and they have a guitar there.
Yeah.
And so I'd put in like weird tunings and leave it, and a lot of people just break the string because they couldn't figure out what was going on.
Sure, yeah.
And so he would always ask me questions about the tuning and why I was doing that, and got to know him, and we bounced ideas off of each other, and we're like, oh man, like it'd be really cool to start a band, and we have all these ideas, and he's like a genius when it comes to mixing and stuff. He's like, all these things that you have in your head, we can put it out and I can mix it. And we were looking for musicians, and a buddy of ours named Noah got really hungry, and there's a burger joint like nearby.
Right. So yeah, me and Noah, we ran over to get a burger, and right next to the bar was the Kava bar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right next to the burger place was the Kava bar, and I spotted him, which I've known since like 6th grade of middle school.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we formed a band like way back, but we played like one 20-minute gig, and it never amounted to much. We just separated after some time. Nothing harsh, just that's what happened.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it happens in music.
Yeah,
but so like I saw him, I called him, I was like, is that you over there at that bar? Because he was playing guitar with Nico here, like right out on the patio or whatever. And
I've seen that going down, and I might even, to be honest with you, you guys look familiar.
Yeah,
I feel like I've seen you guys sitting around playing that guitar, because I've played over there. I played some gigs, and you know they have musicians come and play there, and I know the guitar you're talking about. I'm not 100% sure whether it was you guys, but I feel like it might have been.
It's possible.
Yeah, totally. Like, you know, and it's interesting to hear of a band that's sort of arisen out of a Kava bar, because that's quite a new has that ever happened before? You know, you might be one of the first.
Yeah, maybe.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've been seeing it like little by little. Some people like, just musicians at a Kava bar all of a sudden have a little project going on, and it's cool, and it could amount to a full band. Yeah,
and I think that Kava and gets a little bit of a bad rap, and I understand why, because it really doesn't taste that good. but the thing is, it's somewhere to go, and you don't leave there completely wasted, and
right.
and it's just another way to have community. And I think these places popping up all over the place are great. Like there's this Kava bar up in Jupiter called Oasis Root that it sponsors the podcast, and I go there quite a lot and hang out there, and it's fun. It's just I think it's a positive thing. It's because it's not a coffee house. It's more like a bar, but then without the alcohol. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah.
I think they're great. And and that one out in Royal Palm, that's a decent one, and it's big too, isn't it? Yeah. That's awesome that you guys met there. So when you were going into it, did you have any sort of original idea about what you wanted it to be? Like how did you approach that?
Actually, I think this is kind of funny. It kind of, for me, was a little bit of a lie, which I've forgiven him for. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Forgiving me.
Yeah. No. So
they're getting contentious.
He was like, I got a couple of guys that were like, we kind of already got like a little band. He's like, we really want someone to play keyboard. I'm like, okay, who do you got? And he's like, well, we got a saxophone guy. We got he's a guitarist. We got a singer, and then these people were like spread across Florida, like.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like I was like, I want to play keyboard. I've been thinking for a long time I wanted to play keyboard for a band, and so when I talked to him, he was like, we're gonna do like soul and like rock and like funk and like like all this cool stuff. It was like, oh, sounds fun. It's a new experience. And so then when it came to our first jam day and we all got together, like we were like playing like old riffs and songs that he had like written with one of his buddies, Alec, and Josh was there too. And so it kind of like came together. It kind of started. That was my first experience like with like him, and then like we had like the day on New Year's. We kind of got together like between me, him, and then his buddy Alec on the New Year's Day, and we were just jamming. Sounded good, and that was kind of like my first window into what we were going to be as a band, like what we were going to sound like, and it was like it's really cool. Over time though, even if you listen to our music, like even like on the album or whatnot, the genre like kind of like divides itself up like in weird ways.
Sure.
So I can't actually say, because we still have trouble to this time, like thinking exactly what specifically we want to classify ourselves.
I think that's very common, especially these days. Because in this sort of post rock and roll era, where we just have so many influences to draw from. I think it's almost weird if you don't draw from lots of influences, 'cause-
Right.
Yeah, if you ask someone what kind of music do you listen to, 9 times out of 10 they're going to say, I don't know, like loads of different stuff.
Yeah, and it makes it much more exciting playing, really. Because I've been in a couple different projects, and to kind of defend myself about what he said, those musicians were up in Tallahassee,
Right.
and so it was just like a hike to get up there. And
Yeah.
I had a good buddy I used to play with, and his name's Josh, and he played drums, but he was off in the Army in Texas, and I wasn't sure when he'd be back, and I was pressing to play music, and so I have certain tastes in things that I like, and so a lot of times when you get with like-minded people, not that they're not like-minded, but the sound kind of gets funneled into one thing, and so every song starts sounding the same. And
Right.
so when I met Alex and asked him about like his music choice, some of it lined up, and he had a lot of interesting stuff that I'd never like heard before. And same with Lewis and same with Matt, and they all bring something really unique and special to the table because of their tastes, and it makes
Yeah.
it like so fun because we don't know what's gonna pop up. Because for myself personally, I really like folk and blues and jazz, country, and that kind of stuff, and it really soaked into my bones. So some of it comes up in the songs, and
Yeah.
the stuff they've been listening to for forever and are super into are in their body and in their souls. And
Sure.
when we play, it's like
Yeah, we make sure, like, in the writing process and the jamming process and everything, like, we don't step on each other's toes. We just do what we want for the most part.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, you suggest things and, it bounces off or it sticks. But, yeah, no, we get to do what we want. And this has been, like, the best band.
Yeah, super
the best
grateful
experience
for
we've
it.
had so
That's
far.
awesome. So, you mentioned that Alex was a good engineer, producer. Did you record your own? You've recorded your own album. Then you did that yourselves.
Yeah, so we did that in our garage, his garage. They lived together at the time, and we did that. So both of them. Yeah,
right.
we did it. We did it ourselves. I got like a bunch of mics. And stands and
We soundproofed the walls. We
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
a big riser. Like, got a bunch of mics. We had the
Nice.
got a bunch of effects, the programs, everything, and
Yeah, I mean,
Put
I
it to
think
work.
it's more often than not these days people are recording themselves. I do, My second bedroom is like a little soundproofed like box, I just spend 99% of my time in there when I'm at home. But because it's all out there, isn't it? And it's also a fun hobby and a great way to waste money too on plugins. Oh my
Oh,
god.
right on, yeah.
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 It's crazy. Yeah.
I was just going to catch everyone up, just the origin thing. I've been to this bar like 3 times, okay? So I'm going to go
Right.
ahead and separate myself from the other Kava bar attendees. For me personally, I was lagging behind a little, as they mentioned, just because me and Lewis actually had been in a band since we were around 18, and it was very much like my childhood dream, kind of like, oh, I just assumed that I would be with this band forever. It's kind of like when you get your first girlfriend you fall in love with, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, like I'm gonna be with this person forever. So then when that fell apart, it took me a little longer than him to kind of like be ready to open up again.
Yeah.
And I also had like concerns about genre and stuff and like different sounds and stuff. But yeah, man, the more I play with these guys, the more I learn about music too. It's like kind of what you were saying earlier. Like the point we're at in history now is like the first point where musicians can literally pull from anything they want. Because
Yeah.
like if you think about all of history, like the amount of music you had access to was so like limited. Even 50 years ago, like what, your parents are gonna have like some records, you're gonna save up like money and go get a record. Like the amount of music and influence you have to pull from now, like with the cell phones, dude, like we have everything we want.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this conglomeration of like genres and it's like it doesn't even have to be. It can be funk song one day, Latin like weird scale one, the other harmonic minor scale the other day.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You can really experiment and it's all kind of just one big thing. But
No, totally. And I feel like gone are the days where the order of the notes was really important. It's like no one had done this order of notes. At this point, it's more like if you want to be original, it's how are you like collaging your different like your different sort of influences, I guess, you know. Like that seems to be, you know, where it's at this point, because you know, well, I remember reading once that every riff had every like version of the 12 notes that we had already been written by like the 15th century or something like that. So
exactly.
it's not like it just happened, but you know, I think these days more than ever we're not worrying about that. You know, if the riff sounds good, it sounds good, and if it sounds a bit like something else, well, so be it. You know, like I don't really.
There's always going to be little nuances that make it different.
Yeah.
Like, you know, each person. I feel like this is truer the more you spend time with your instrument, but like each person has their own kind of character and vibe. Like when they express themselves through their instrument, it's going to sound a little bit different. Each, you know, even if like two great guitar players play the same riff, it's not going to sound exactly the same usually.
No, totally. I usually ask this right at the beginning, but I kind of skipped over it because I was curious about some other stuff. But I'm just curious about your sort of musical backgrounds. Like, let's start at this end. Nico, when did you start playing music, and were your parents supportive? Did you get going early, or?
So music has always been super important and a part of my life since I can remember. My mother figured it would help in my brain development, so she played a lot of like Mozart and Bach when I was growing up, and
wise woman.
had it in the car. Yes, she is. And when I was really little, I wanted to be an opera singer, so I would go to like the dentist and like be singing Andrea Bocelli and like Pavarotti, and I was just super into music. And when I was born, my mother said I had huge hands to be like a piano player, and she wanted me to do that, but I wanted to play video games at the time.
Sure.
And she put me in violin, and I was doing that for like a year or so, and when I was like 6 or 7. Then I did saxophone for like 3 months, but I would always chew the reed, so like I could never produce a sound out of it. And then let's see, my father always played guitar, and I kind of discovered that a little bit later in life. I was about 12 or 13, and it blew my mind. I thought he had like a secret superpower that I like never knew about. And he saw my interest in it, and he ended up purchasing me a like kid Washburn guitar.
Yeah.
It was super, super small, and I played it for like a day, and it was too hard. And I turned 16. I wasn't really into the music that all my friends in high school were into, and I felt like this disconnect. And I heard a riff on the radio, and it just it seduced me, and I just haven't stopped playing since. And it became an obsession. I joined the jazz band in my high school.
Were you having lessons at school?
Yeah, I had taught myself, and my band director, Mr. Skinner, he wanted to push a teacher on me, and I didn't understand that. I was like, well, I already taught myself. Like, I don't need a teacher. Like, why?
Sure. I know everything already.
Ego, yeah. I was like, I know all the notes. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
And it was a huge mistake for like a year, but he introduced me to a man named Neil Bacher, and Neil teaches at Palm Beach State College.
Nice.
And I owe a lot to Mr. Bacher. And in college, I studied jazz for about 3 years, and yeah, it's been my obsession ever since.
Yeah, nice, man. A jazz degree. I did a music degree, but it wasn't a jazz degree, and sometimes I wish it was. I'd love to do a jazz degree. Yeah, all right. So, Alex, how did you find yourself playing music?
So, I mean, like, I guess it all goes back. I mean, everybody's parents, to some degree, like, probably around the time when we were kids, kind of wanted their kids to have some sort of a musical background. So, you know, I was 4 years old. My mom took me to piano lessons, but I was 4, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Sure.
And so...
I remember being dragged to those piano lessons when I was that age. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sucks.
So, I mean, then when I was like a kid or whatnot, like as I was growing up, I always had like a keyboard lying around or something. And so I would like tap on it and try to play some like song, like notes from like a melody or something from a song, like play the pieces of it. And then as I got older, kind of got more and more invested in stuff like that, and like kind of just learned how to play chords on a piano. But I never really got super duper invested in the keyboard until like fairly like recently, I guess. Because then one day when I was like 14 years old, at youth group at my church, there was like a mentor or something. He's like, you know what, you seem like you would probably love to play this, and he hands me a ukulele, and I'm like, awesome. And I had that sit in my room for like I had to sit in my room for like, like 6 months. Didn't think I was gonna play it, and then I heard like a song that some girl showed me in my creative writing class in high school. I was like, okay, I wonder how I would play it on there. So then I started playing it on the ukulele.
Impressing a girl is a fantastic reason to learn how to play music. That was 100% the reason.
The oldest motivation in all of time.
It wasn't like I actually liked the music.
Yeah,
like she introduced me like a whole like world of stuff, and to this day I still love this pretentious stuff. Like it's funny.
I like a bit of ukulele in my life. Yeah, absolutely. For a long time I used to carry one around with me because it's such a great way to get the little seed of a song.
Mm-hmm.
You got you got a few chords there, and you can just pad out. It's easier than just trying to sing it to yourself. For writing, ukulele can be super handy. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it still like feels like because the frets are so small that it's like a little harder to like play like individual notes. Like if because after you play the ukulele, you start thinking, if that's the first like string instrument you play, like, I bet you I can learn guitar.
Oh yeah,
and then that's like, okay. So now it's hard for me to go back there unless I just want to play chords.
Right, gotcha. Yeah. No, fair dues. And you also played some rather interesting instruments in the band, don't you? You get the theremin going, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but I can't like make a tone out of it. It's kind of like a really cheap one that my friend got me for a birthday, and I love it. Just run a couple effects on it and make it cool. Yeah.
Yeah, man, theremin's rad. I think it's a real fun addition to the band. We're going to talk about your Iwi later, so let's not touch on that. But yeah, Lewis, what was your musical story?
Yeah, I did the piano thing when I was younger. You get those lessons, and it's like I didn't stick then. I liked music, but like it was mostly pop stuff. I didn't really like dive deep. And then just at some point, like 15, 16 or something, I played Guitar Hero. And then I was like, oh, rock music.
You'd be surprised how common of an answer that is.
Yeah, I believe it, because it's just like, it just put me on. It turned me on. All those hits, the greats. I was like, okay, this is the genre of music I like most associate and like feel comfortable with. So,
yeah. It was a really smart way of like sneaking rock into like video game kids' lives, Yeah. It was great. It was just a sort of like a little snuck it in there. Now all those kids then, adults now, like know like every single one of those tunes like the back of their hand because they're just playing it.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's that like sparked it. That was the catalyst. And then like I played trombone in middle school too. It's just like I didn't follow through with these things.
Yeah.
But no, I picked up a guitar after Guitar Hero, got into like rock, made like just learned some power chords and stuff. Just diddled on that, picked up bass. I wanted to play bass guitar for a while, I thought. But, like I like, picked up guitar, picked up bass, and then I decided I was going to just make my own music and like by myself, kind of.
Right.
So then I naturally got a drum set at 17, and when I got that, it was purely that.
You were just like, there
hooked.
It is.
Yeah, I realized like that's what I wanted to do, and it helped too that when I got my drum kit, Matt here got his like bass guitar and was like really starting his thing too. So him and I literally came up at the exact same time in the same band, like at the same like, I don't know, obviously like levels different, but like we started at the same point and just learned to this point. And we're still learning like our instruments. It's
one of the things we do here at Live Music Community, we teach here, and one of the things we do when when someone's new is we try and put different instruments into their hand, because you can labor away with someone on the wrong instrument and just make them think they hate music, but then they find the right thing and they go, oh my God, I love it. Sometimes you just got to find the right thing for the right person. But yeah, Matthew, anything to add about your I know we'd already kind of heard a bit about
Lewis gave it all away, man.
Yeah. Was there anything prior to that?
There's oh yeah,
He's got a lot.
There's parents dude, when I was a toddler, even like my parents would do they would do like karaoke and also like bar gigs. My mom would just sing sometimes, but my dad would do like bar gigs, and I would just be kind of there at the bars, like around live music since I was young.
Oh, nice.
They would send me up there, and I would do little like almost lullabies or whatever, like kid songs and shit. So I've been around it a long time. Band in middle school, like the piano, because with the piano, like I started, I would learn like joke songs almost from like YouTube videos. So like some video game song or some like meme song or something, I would like look up a tutorial and learn it on piano. So then my parents put me in the lessons and that whole thing. But there was like a pretty distinct switch at a certain point when I was 17. What you know how they say like there's like two sides to your brain or whatever. One's like more like mathematic and the other's more like creative or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is which? I actually don't remember.
So I think
is left brain is the logic one or
and right.
Creative
It's like the other way around than you would expect it to be.
Yeah. So
left
like,
brain's the logic, right
I'd
brain's
say
the,
up until the point when I was 17, I had like this very left brain like concept of music where like each thing was like a challenge, or it was like a puzzle or perhaps an equation, or it was like something I had to work at and then like achieve, and then it's like, okay, I can play the piece. And like even with piano, like I would try and like learn pieces that were like way harder than I should have learned, and I would just like memorize each note like before I knew how to read sheet music, and it didn't really make sense. I didn't really understand what I was doing, but it was just like, oh, let me complete this puzzle to its very end.
Yeah.
But then there was like this distinct switch when I was around 17. Certain experiences I had kind of changed the way, and it like opened up my entire. I was like, oh wait, like you can actually just create this. It's not like challenges or like video game levels that I have to like complete. It's actually like literally I can just hold a note and like bend it and then like manipulate it, and then like multiple levels, now I'm like writing a song. And so that switch, I was ever since then, dude, I was like, GG, man, this is what I want to do, because like it is the coolest thing ever, I thought. And I fell in love with like Chili Peppers around that time, and they have this like just this ability to jam at live performances that like I hadn't seen something like that like when I was that age, and I saw Flea on the bass, and I was like, I just thought bass was like some support thing, like lame shit,
Sure, yeah.
Bro, and then my mind is blown. Okay, bass is just as cool as any other instrument.
Yeah,
started
if
playing
not
that.
cooler.
Because like I can bridge the rhythm and the melody and the harmony. I can kind of dip my toes into every aspect of a song with the bass.
No, absolutely. I have a huge respect for bass and very good bass players, because it's like it's the glue. It's like it's important as a rhythmic element and a harmonic element and a melodic element if you want it to be too. It's like it's across
and I
everything.
definitely do try and incorporate all those and like approach bass as like from a fully like formed musician perspective versus just like, well, because I played other instruments before, so like when you look at it like that, which is how all the great like bass players that we think of when we think of bass players, like Flea, Les Claypool, like
imagine how many people
whatever.
must cite Flea as being their inspiration for starting to play the bass.
Just because he was just so cool, and it's like there's just as many other bass players that are just as talented and just as like interesting, but it's just like he just had cool hair and he was like kind of funny and he wore like cool pants, so it's like
exactly.
so out there you couldn't ignore the bass player
you could
anymore.
not ignore it anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, so once that other side of my brain opened up, I was like, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So ever since then I've just been trying to like make music, make art, and there's like a different thing when you're doing it by yourself and when you're doing it with other people. it's like it's not really additive. It's like multiplicative or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like you can do something with your friends, with your bandmates, with other musicians that you wouldn't be able to do by yourself, and have this interactive experience. And it's just such a cool thing. So
It is a cool thing, man. I live for it, 100%. At one point, I've been playing in a band down here for a really long time. I've been playing in bands pretty much for my livelihood and stuff like that for a really long time. You know, since I was in my early 20s, and I'm 42 now, so long time, 20 years. But since I've been here, which has been about 13 years, I've been doing it, and it was always with a band, and then I had this brief period where I was playing way more solo, and man, did I miss the band. You know, like, as I thought I could just become this. I still do some solo gigs, and I enjoy them, but only because I know that it's not the main thing. You know, like, because the thrust of like that interaction in a band is what it's all about for me, you know, and being able to jam and move the structure around and kind of get into the moment with it. Like, I think as well, because we played quite a lot. Like, you know, right now we're not super busy, but usually playing about 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes, and I don't know if I could do it if we didn't have room to jam, like, because then pretty much every time we play the songs, they're a little bit different, you know, and if I had to go out there and play 3 or 4 hours of exactly the same thing every time, I don't know.
Tough. Yeah, it might lose that spark for sure. We've like, there's a couple songs where it's like we really have to play this part exactly right.
Yeah, sure.
Like Investigation is a good example of that, which is on all platforms. The Investigation, if you want to have a listen.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of, I'd say the majority of our songs and a lot of the ones we're writing now, there's so much room for that, and we kind of do that intentionally.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's just, exploring is dope.
Absolutely, it is. I guess the last thing that I'll ask you guys before we go and listen to you guys play some music is when you're writing, how does that come together with the band? Like, is there one person who is sort of writing all the lyrics, or like, what's your writing process as a band?
Mainly, we'll go on our app and it's like AI generated. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
going for a minute.
it's a little bit different every time. I suppose we have like our little secret formula here and there, but someone will come with like an idea, and we kind of bounce it off of each other, and we all have a certain approach to our instrument and to music, and especially with Matt. At the start, when we were trying to convince him to come on board, he would say like, well, if I do, I'm only gonna play stuff that like I like to play, and he's got some of the coolest grooves like on that album, and it's so fun. So I guess everybody else kind of does a similar thing where it's like, well, they're gonna kind of put in what's on there. So someone will bring an idea, and it'll kind of, you know, come together, and
you throw something in, and then someone else will jump on with something, and then we're just all adjusting to each other. And it's like, is that a chorus? Is that a verse? Is this a jam section? Is this even going to be a song? Are we like investing so much time into something that's just kind of cool?
I know how that goes.
Yeah.
I've been there. Jeez.
it's very natural.
It's very natural. It's like we kind of just feel it. Like, is this going to be something, or is it like, are we like not crazy about it?
Gotcha.
And then by the end of it, like, I mean, yeah.
Like with Atomic Number 3 at the end of our album. Ooh, man, some things were going around the world at the time, and some fears with Russia and such, and what we were talking about, like DEFCON 3, was it called, that we were in, or DEFCON 2, like the state of the nuclear state of the world, I suppose. And Alex kind of had this prophetic dream almost, and he was telling us about it, and we were like, gave us chills, you know, and we're like, dang, okay. Anyways, like, let's play some music, and like this song just popped up, and it had this eeriness to it and this power, and we're like, oh, this is something, you know. We whipped the phones out to record it, and that developed into a really strong, really powerful song, and we all threw our bits into it, and he kind of wrote the lyrics, inspired, and that's how that sort of came about.
The hardest part, it seems, is just like ending it, because at some
Yeah.
point we're like, did we execute what we wanted to in it?
Yeah.
And it's like, are we satisfied? Is this like enough for us?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
sure.
like, we're like 7 minutes in, and it's like, can we keep like our friends and audience and family's attention? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
for
even
sure.
to this day, we still modify songs that we have on that album that we've like started. So like it's like these songs are still open books.
Yeah.
It's
It's
very
like-
improvisational too.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I applaud it. And jam bands that it hasn't always been. I go in and out of love affairs with jam bands. I think what it is with me is, in general, I prefer to be in them than listen to them. But you guys are different. You're heavy. And it's like, I wouldn't even call you necessarily a jam band. It's like, it's just, it's really quite thought about. And you remind me of like, in the heavier parts, just some of these like Zeppelin-esque, like Deep Purple-esque riffs. I mean, it's heavy, man. It's like, it seems like a Black Sabbath sometimes, it's like
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, thank
Like,
you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. And so, I wouldn't necessarily put you in that kind of like, sort of fish kind of reggae, it's not like that, it's a whole different thing. It's awesome. And so I applaud it, and I think this would be a good moment for you guys to play us a couple of tunes. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
fun.
definitely.
Perfect.
Definitely. We'd be down.
Hi, we're Mount Sinai. And this is a song that is very new to us playing live. It's called Bullfight, and it might have a different name when it's finished up, but that's us.
Ready, boys?
Dying in doses in this recession, and mourning dear Moses for mother's expression. Living alone and yet still dependent. What shall I seek, oh love? Your wonders are weak and your strength now it wanes. A fool who harms that which for what he is vain. You always in mirrors you gawk with disdain, seeking out someone you love. Into my madness, the carpet makes shapes with its mouth before swelling to burst. Oh, its love has lost all its traction. Its captains maroon on separate shores, on different sides of the earth. Oh, its life falls onto dark seas, leading my enemy to my cause. Oh, where have you gone? No one could sway the cynic behavior for my love. when her son will return. In his mind he would hunt for the same. In taking that much, but he's going to learn. Sometimes these things make you change. Ship has sailed to the wrong place. I stand on the deck and know what is wrong, yet nobody else knows of this mistake. Oh, this hand through its cracks and its crevices, it tells me a future all of us doomed to fall into. Bad romances, oh, it's a lie. Please through this night stay, lest all these wanderers crashing and sinking the dark and murky bay. Oh, my heart, now you're long gone. Wish you'd return to my gate. This one is called Atomic Number 3. It's on our album, Half of a Yellow Sun. Check it out, Spotify, whatever you listen to it on. I've seen the white whale, seen the pale horse too. She's coming round the mountain, a little too late for you. Oh, I've seen the oceans burst of fire and flame. I've seen the windows scream apart, the building makes the mess of my breathing. Seen you in my bedsheet, doing just the same. I've seen you scream at me, and I also scream my name. Humans, Homo sapien, friends and family, missing death, are distinguished different, the burden of love in vain.
Hi, this is Ben from 561 Music. We are a local music podcast that is completely designed to promote and shed light on local music. And if you would like to be a part of that, we're looking for sponsors. So you could have your ads in the episode and in all the show notes, and we will read you bespoke ads, or you can write your own ads yourselves. If you want to find us, you can find us at 561 Music Podcast on the socials, or www.561music.com. We'd love it if you got in touch. Thanks a lot. We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Kava Bar is in Sea Grape Square on Indiantown Rd, and it is a kava bar. If you don't know anything about kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water, and it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, you know, that brings people together. You all take a shell of kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, you know, there's sort of like blacklight and EDM playing, and some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And yeah, Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Route Kava Bar. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band, Unemployed Youth, accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue, and we can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in, and it was a real success. But outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. It's north of the gas station, right before you get to North Lake on Military Trail. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. Thanks. All right, so we just listened to an ad for Live Music Community. Could you give us a little bit of advice for upcoming musicians? And why don't we start at this end and go around?
All right. Some advice. Trust your gut, definitely, and because as a musician, you typically get into music because there's other artists that inspire you to pick up the instrument, and you really like the sounds they're producing, and a lot of times you try really hard to emulate them, and it's very discouraging because you don't end up sounding like them or playing like them. And you also might think like, oh, what does somebody else think of what I'm playing? Maybe it's like not good enough. But I think everybody is unique and special in their approach to the instrument. Mm-hmm. So my advice would be like, if it fires you up, like pursue it with everything you have. Definitely just don't let other people's judgments get in the way. If it makes you happy, just play, and definitely set aside some time to practice. The phone is very distracting for me, away from practicing. But if it's something important, dedicate as much time as you possibly can to it. Put your heart and soul into it, and don't let anybody push you away from it, whether it's friends or family. Just if you feel it in your heart, just do it. Do what you will.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, Alex, you got any words of wisdom over there?
I'd say to be a good musician, you got to be really aggressive and a jerk to everybody all the time, and be really unlikable. I'm just
crucial.
Yeah. I guess I would say that, a lot like he says, you want to really find specifically what you're passionate for, and on top of that, like, you gotta not only like as a musician, if you're trying to grow, like as far as like getting more involved with playing shows and whatnot, it's also, you kind of have to find your own market too, not necessarily like, it's all trial and error. I'll just mainly leave it at that as far as like what's going to stick and what's not. So you might like a song a lot that you play live, or you play in your garage or in your house, but you got to take it out and see who likes it. What like
Yeah, get out there and do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're never gonna know unless you do.
Absolutely. Lewis, you got anything for us there?
It's quite literally that. Just do it. Never waver. I mean, Nico like said, like there's so many times where you get discouraged and you're like, why am I doing everything for this like little to no payout besides just like self-satisfaction? And it's like just trust in yourself, trust in your friends, those who support you, your family, and like just push it as far as you can.
Yeah,
and
man.
See what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. Why not, right? Because if
Absolutely.
you don't, like,
No, totally. It's tenacity, is the number one sort of quality in a musician. Tenacity and just kind of stick-to-itiveness, really, Just keep trying. So, yeah, what about you, Matthew?
I'll give like a kind of meta, like woo-woo piece of advice, and then I'll give like a more practical piece. So firstly, I think it's important if you're studying music, if you want to be a student of music, it's important to remember like what you're doing like on the most fundamental level, which is you're just expressing yourself. You're expressing your experience through sound waves. Is literally it. So like everything else is in service of that. Gear, theory, instruments. All these are just tools that you're using to accomplish that goal. So, some people get too caught up in theory. Some people don't use it enough. It's all about like all these things just help you achieve this expression of life. The ups and downs, the ebb and flow. That's kind of what music is. It's just mimicking life itself. So always keep that in mind. On a more practical level, dude, learn from as many different flavors and genres as you can, because if you learn only in what you're hyper interested in, then you're not going to have as many tools in your toolkit, kind of like I was saying before. So I think it's really cool to just throw on an album that you wouldn't necessarily listen to, grab your instrument, and just see what you can make of it for that 45 minutes or whatever. And you might pick up on something that like, you kind of slot in here, and then you end up using it, months down the road when you're writing a song. I think it's really cool. It's kind of like playing on what we were saying earlier with like, we have these phones where we have access to all this music and all this knowledge. Take advantage of that, man. Like, use it to your disposal, and don't take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some great advice. There's another question that I'm going to sneak in here, which is, are you guys still sort of practicing individually? Like, do you sit and practice your instrument these days?
Yes. For myself, definitely, it's a daily thing.
Excellent.
And the places I hang out at just happen to have a guitar. And it's definitely something that I constantly do, but there's a lot of discouragement and distractions. So I'm not the best at it all the time, but definitely try to get practice in every day. And luckily, we almost practice like every day too. So
Yeah, we
as a group.
So we practice individual each of ourselves, but yeah, we get together almost every day, and
That's the coolest thing ever.
About
Yeah.
6 out of 7 days at average, but most of the time we do 7.
Oh, wow.
it can get tiring.
That warms
but
my heart. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You guys are going to get real good real fast if you keep doing it like that. That's
Thank
so awesome. So why don't we hear a little bit about what the songs that you played for us are about?
Okay, I guess that falls on my shoulders then. So as far as I think thematically, a lot of the first song is essentially like I guess integral to like a kind of a story to what we're working on for the next album, and it's kind of like a story of like 4 characters who are essentially trapped in place, and they have to journey because the end of the world is nigh or has come.
Sure.
So so when
Pretty
you
on the nose, yeah.
right, and so the second song, Atomic Number 3, is that like apocalyptic event. It's like a call to action, but like it's the end of the first album, but yeah, like essentially kind of the introduction to what the groundwork for the next one should be as well.
Beginning
Yeah.
with the end almost in a way, and to just kind of tack on something about the 4 characters journeying, and that's part of the sound too. There's a sort of Latin flair to the song, flamenco inspired by it, and
that double harmonic minor.
yeah, exactly. And my mother's from Colombia, and on my father's side, they're from Cuba, and that kind of music is very prevalent. And so it's kind of adding to that idea of traveling to new lands and
Nice.
Yeah, it's
And,
such a foreign feel.
Right.
Yeah,
it makes us dance.
I loved it when you were kind of jamming it earlier. I sort of get in soundcheck. I was like, oh yeah, please. I was hoping that was a song, and it was. Yeah, it's cool. I
Hell
loved
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's definitely one of my go-tos. Is that is that scale and that vibe when I'm, especially on sax. Sounds sick on
Oh
sax.
yeah, it's super mysterious.
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful sound.
Totally. So talking of sax, why don't you tell us a little bit about this mysterious instrument you have here? I actually think Justin has a picture of it. Why don't we take a look at the picture? There you go. So
There's our fantastic.
yeah.
Wow, good photo,
And then we could
guys.
probably
Really
cut
good.
back from that, and we could see it in real life here because we actually have it right in front of us too. But we can do that whenever. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so a lot of people have this assumption that this is like essentially a digital clarinet. I wanted to dispel all the specific instrument rumors.
Those people are wrong.
They're wrong.
Very wrong.
And it's not a sax either. It's simply essentially what a keyboard is to a keyboard is to a piano. It's the digital version of a wind instrument. So they call it an EWI, or the community online calls it an EWI. And this is the solo here. This is the kind of the cheaper one, but it does come with a speaker at the end of it. And it's useful if you live in an apartment and you don't really have what it takes to learn the typical like wind instrument style of like playing. I know like on like sax and like clarinet and whatnot, you have a reed that kind of does like the vibration for you.
Yeah.
This gets it. You can do it all with this. Now it does have a couple of like locked in things, like you can't play a wrong note on it because
Right.
or like like it can't be like out of tune or whatnot. So
Sure,
doing like slides on is a little limiting, but it's fun. I like it because when I joined this band, every album that I loved essentially had a trumpet on there, and like, well, I can't play a trumpet because I live in an apartment. So I was like,
Yeah.
is there something out there that does that? And I looked up because I was into the In the Arrow Playing Over the Sea album by Neutral Milk Hotel, because again, I'm into
That's a cool
pretentious music.
band. No, stop. They're great.
But they have this like weird like Casio like thing, and it looks like a toy, right? And
Yeah.
honestly, it probably is. And if you buy one, like all the capacitors in there are all like melted and broken. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, I can't do that. So instead, I decided I would get one of these. And
It's a great choice. It sounds cool, man. Works with the band, Yeah, I as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, there's another thing I gotta get. It looks so awesome, man. I'm gonna end up getting one of those. I know it for sure. And thanks for showing it to us, and thanks for playing it to us as well. It sounded awesome. So, what do you guys got coming up then? What's in the pipeline?
We have plenty of shows coming up. Yeah, like we've been playing almost every week and at least once
Yeah.
or twice a weekend. We got a show coming up in a Propaganda October 20th.
Right,
It's a Friday. That's gonna be a really fun one. We're really excited for that. We're pushing that one.
nice one.
What else? We have
Black Flamingo. We love you, Eli.
26.
Black Flamingo. We like Black Flamingo. We have a residency there.
Oh, nice.
There.
You
Hit
have a
us up.
residency?
Yeah.
So what is that, like once a month or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
first
every
Saturday of the
first.
month, we're at Black Flamingo Brewery. If you guys, don't have anything to do on Saturday night, it's a nice spot. They got some cool brews there. Some nice different
Yeah, they've been
flavors.
welcoming to us. That's like a testing ground for like live, like practice at
Yeah,
this point.
wicked.
Yeah.
So we get experimental out there.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
extremely experimental. And
That's cool.
They're
It's like
cool
a second
about
home
it.
almost.
Yeah.
Sounds like
We-
a great place to come and see you play, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
it is
Yeah.
a cool spot.
If you feel comfortable, then you're not sort of like clamming up,
Mhm.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I get a Saturday night off, I'm going to come try and see you there. So what's going on with, so you have your, what's your album called again?
Half of a Yellow Sun.
Yeah, and that's available on all streaming services,
All
right?
of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and is working on any new music in the future?
Always.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Any idea where we could expect it, or is that still
Um,
TBD?
So-
It's a little TBD. It's the concept is there.
The concepts.
So
there,
I
the
mean, like
ideas
we're
there.
still in the writing process essentially, but
Yeah.
we're nearing the end of essentially the essential parts of it,
Mhm.
and then after that we'll decide essentially when we start recording, and by then we can kind of probably have an expectation
Sure.
as to when we're going to be done with
It'll be like your hands.
But there's a
the
f-
sun and moon.
Yeah,
there you
there's a
go.
few like the first song we played is an example of one that wasn't on the album that we've pretty much finished. 95% since releasing the album. So yeah, we have a few finished, a few ideas, and we kind of got to just group it all together into a cohesive project. Really,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, I have to say, it's been a delight having you. What I usually do at the end of this is I say what Killbilly's gigs we got coming up. So we are playing... not at all, I don't think, because Hector is away in Colombia. So we got on Saturday the 19th, James and I are playing from 3 to 6 at the Square Grouper in Jupiter. So we got that one. I think that's the only, it's the only gig this weekend. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm going to be wandering around like a crazy person all weekend.
Watch Iwi YouTube videos.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Research the
yeah.
Iwi.
It looks like I'll have too
Get
much time on
hooked
my
on
hands. I end up with an iwi by the end of the weekend.
You never know.
But,
There's worse things you could end up with at the end of a weekend.
for
Just
sure.
Keep that in mind, kids. Okay.
Yeah, let's not go into them though. All right, so thanks so much for coming, and
Thanks for having us.
yeah, you guys are awesome. I didn't know what to expect so much, and then I listened to a bunch of music. I was like, oh yeah, they're good. It's always a relief when
Mhm.
the band is good. So,
Thank you.
yeah, and you're nice guys too, and I wish you the
Appreciate it.
best of luck, and I can't wait to come see you guys play.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
man.
you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.
Yeah, it's our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And all right, so if you are listening to the podcast and you feel like you want to support us, we could really, really use some help with either sponsorship or just donations, because we are currently running at what can only be described as a loss. So it'd be great if anyone wanted to donate. You can do that on a website, or if you want to sponsor any business you have or anything like that, you can speak to us about that. We're really easy to find. 561 Music Podcast on socials, and www.561music.com is our website. And thanks so much for listening to us. We're here every week, 561 Music, supporting local music. And see you next time. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Peace.
Take it by the scenes, it's what we're doing. Come and check it out, it's what we're all about. 561 Music!